There are so many incredible individuals all around our country who are trying to make a difference. They're impacting their communities through their work, talents, and servant hearts. In this series, you'll get a chance to meet them. Welcome to 50 States, 50 Stories. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of 50 States, 50 Stories. I'm Matt Marks. Welcome back. We're here at episode 2. We got a great one here for you, and we're joined by an amazing guest today from the great state of Kansas. We got Jacob Thomas. Jake, how are you doing today, man?
Doing terrific, man. I'm in Kansas. What else can you ask for?
I love to hear it. Hey, thanks so much for being on today. This is going to be a fun episode. We've got a lot to talk about, and I'm excited to learn a little bit more about Kansas and for you to share with everyone what you're doing, what's going on. And we've got some really good stories. And I want to start with this because we met back, this is probably 2014, 2015. Like, I feel old.
Yeah, 2014, probably. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's kind of terrifying to think about.
It's almost been a decade.
Don't
It's
say
closer
that.
to that.
Oh, no. Wow. Yeah, 2014. I would say fall 2014.
Yeah. So it goes back to our freshman year. And let's just, talking about OU, we both went to the University of Oklahoma, both graduated there. You spent some time, and you paved the way, but for me, being an RA, you spent some time as an RA for 3 years, right?
Yeah, 3 years. Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about that because a lot of people, when you think RA, now you get a lot of things come to mind. Bad cop. No, you don't want to interact with those people.
Yep.
They're going to get you in trouble. No, stay away from them.
Yeah.
But you were the complete opposite. Jake, anybody that knows you, you are a role model. You pave the way. You want people to be better. They're better, the best versions of themselves. And you show that as an RA. And I just want to hear about your experience as an RA and how you poured into your residents, because you were an RA we were both RAs at Headington Hall at the University of Oklahoma. Jake, what'd you get out of being an RA, and what was like most impactful for you from that experience?
Where to start? It was such a fun job, but the thing is that you live where you work, so the experience is just they just layer on top of each other throughout that time. And working in that for 3 years, you're just constantly in the job, because you're never really away from it when you live where you work. Man, it was a great job. It kind of started off because it was in Headington Hall that I was an RA for 3 years. But my freshman year, I worked in the caf there in Wagner, and cooked breakfast food, which was, it was a blast and it was really cool. But my brother is 4 years older than me, and he went to Oklahoma, and he was an RA, and I don't know, it just looked like a lot of fun, and it looked like a great experience, and so I just wanted to experience that for myself, and wanted to do that, and so it was the job I had on my mind. So I loved working in the caf. I didn't enjoy the early mornings necessarily, but the relationships, and that's where I met you. Was you would come in and have your meals living in Headington, and so I was working in there, and that's how we met. And there were a ton of great memories from that job, but I definitely had being an RA at the forefront of my mind. And so sophomore year started that job, and did that, sophomore, junior, and senior year. Man, it was fun. Learned a lot in it. So really, obviously I'm from Kansas and then chose to go to Oklahoma. So it's about 5.5 hours, depending on how fast you drive. But it was a great experience going to Oklahoma, but it was terrifying. And I'm definitely a homebody that struggled with being away from Kansas because that's where I grew up. Didn't move really, other than different parts of Kansas City, but not really state to state. So born and raised here, and so leaving that was really hard, and definitely was homesick and wanted to leave OU that first semester, and it was really challenging. And so those emotions were really hard to deal with, and I was just terrified. I wasn't really building relationships initially with anyone, and so just that loneliness was really challenging. And so it truly was a privilege to be an RA in Headington because for those that don't know, Headington is just it's freshmen, and there are a few athletes that have been there a year, and they spend another semester there. But for your traditional students, which is almost half of the building, I mean, you're all freshmen, and they're all experiencing, not all of them, some of them were really excited to get away from home, but it's their first time away from their family, and they're experiencing those feelings and emotions. And so um, it just meant a lot to be able to contribute to the experience in a positive way. So, like you said, an RA could be bad cop and really just nagging you and banging on your door and ruining all the fun. Um, but really, my philosophy was, and I'm sorry, Brian Hinnon, if you watch this, but my philosophy was that, it's college. Students are going to do what they're going to do, whether I recommend it or not. But really, my philosophy was, do your thing and be responsible, be smart, live your life, but don't be stupid about it, frankly. And the moment you're stupid, like, I've got to step in, and I don't want to. I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't want to, you know, cause any conflict or have any, um, confrontations that I don't want to have. But, um, you know, on your Segway or hoverboard, whatever they were called, with a keg down the hallway, I have to do something. Like, there's no way I can't say something or turn you in. Like, you've got to be smarter than that. But there are only a few instances that really had to have those um, confrontational moments. But overall, it was really great to just build those relationships and to um, help those students, help guide them. Just off the top of my mind, I would really try to keep my door open as much as possible when I was there. And a moment that comes into mind was a freshman that was rushing to his first like fraternity meeting, and he was scared, he was nervous, but he didn't know how to tie his tie, and so he bolted into my room and was like, "I have no clue how to tie this. What do I do?" And just helping him tie his tie and get him ready. And um, it's that was less than a minute that he was in there, but it just meant a lot to be there for that 1 minute and to help in any way that I could. And so it was a really meaningful experience, and a ton of great relationships among the staff as well. It's I don't know, just so many lifelong friends in that group that to this day, including you, that it just meant the world spending every day together. And I mean, every day together, like we, I mean, sunrise to sundown, and even past sundown, we were together and we were hanging out and doing something. And it was just a blast to go upstairs, go to bed, wake up, go downstairs, and we're all hanging out again. Like, it was just a really cool experience, and I loved it. It was an awesome job and a ton of fun, and I don't know, it's just a ton of great memories. So
Yeah, I think definitely those times, a lot of fun memories. Maybe not so fun when you get woken up at 2 a.m. to, a prank call or a fire alarm. We've had our share of both of those, right?
no, like, horrible.
Oh yeah, just imagine if you think what it's like to work in a residence hall and the worst possible time when a fire alarm not only goes off at 2 a.m, but then at 3, and then maybe at 4.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
not fun, and it's cold outside. Yeah,
No, no, it's not.
not
And you
yeah.
think that the biggest thing I need people to know is Easy Mac requires water. Just put the water in, okay? It's the one step you have to do. The amount of times that we were waking up at 2, 3 a.m., fire departments rushing down Norman in this big emergency because someone didn't add water to Easy Mac. Easy Mac. I can't. What are you gonna do?
I mean, either that or what, the Pop Tart, and you don't take it out of the
Oh,
wrapper or something. I mean, or you burnt
it's
toast. I mean, it's
it, I no
kind of
words.
sad.
Like, you just love them and forgive and show grace, right? That's
The next morning, maybe not at that moment.
yeah. I know. I just want to go to bed.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, what's great about, I mean, that's what college is about, right? It's you've got some of the best memories of your life. And I think back at Headington, you mentioned Brian Hinnon, who you got to mention in this episode because of of really fun stories. Our friend Brian out in Colorado, he was our director at the time at Headington Hall, and we would go golf a lot with him. I think about the golf. I mean, to paint a picture for you. I mean, and this cracks me up every time. You go golf with your buddies. You have a good time. You're keeping score. You're whatever. You're trying to just cut jokes. Brian takes it to another level. He brings his speaker out, and you think, oh, great music, like we're classic rock. Well, that might be one of the songs. He's got about 45, 50 genres of music. And Jake, you probably know where I'm going with this.
Oh, yeah.
So we're on the 17th hole here. And we're about to pull up. The green of the previous hole is right by the tee box. Okay, well, that's usually how it is. You didn't have to drive far to the next hole. That's what I mean.
It's right there. It's
right
on
there.
top of us, like feet
And
away.
you got this group of maybe 4 older gentlemen. And I mean, they're older up in age. And all of a sudden, and you got to remind me, what song was it? What comes on?
The Wedding March.
The Wedding March comes on.
Yes.
And well, there was another incident too. It was
And Black Skinhead.
Black Skinhead, yeah.
It'll climb
And
up.
it's blaring. And
Blaring.
yeah, we don't have the phone to turn off the music. That's in
Nope.
Brian's pocket. And I don't know what Brian's doing. He's just up there blaring the music.
Yeah. He was getting to it. Yeah.
And yeah, there it is. The guys are putting, and we're just like, I don't know about you, Jake. I'm just kind of having my hand over my head, like, oh gosh, can we just tee off? Can they please just finish the hole?
Yeah.
It was embarrassing.
It was a terrific lesson on focus that we were trying to teach that other group, that no matter what obstacle is thrown your way, just stay focused on the ball. And it was distracting me, and I wasn't even putting. So that's
Life lessons on the
But-
course.
that's why we love Brian. It's experiences like that that made him a just fun leader, made every day fun, every experience fun with him. And I mean, great, incredible guy. It was truly an honor to work for him, and just had a blast every moment that we spent. And I mean, like that guy, I felt like I would find myself in some, just weird scenario, like I don't know, hanging out with friends. You would go out, do something, come back. It was pretty normal, pretty straightforward. Brian, I felt like I would end up in some scenario that I never would have had I not been with him. Like, example is, he had sold something. It was like a piece of furniture, and we drove it to drop it off, and we did that. But on our way to do it, we get to this light, and he's got this nice Jeep, push to start, and we're front of the line at this stoplight. So just waiting for the light to turn green. Cars behind us. Light turns green. Jeep isn't going. It's like one of those that shuts off when you stop at a light, and then when you're ready to go, you take your foot off and like hit gas, and it starts up again and goes. It does not start up and go. It sits.
Worst
And so-
possible thing.
We've got everyone behind us. Green light. It's not going. And, I'm like completely uncomfortable because, people get upset quick on the road, and they're ready to rage. And so he throws the hazards on, and we get out, and there's just no fix to it. So I'm so embarrassed that I go off, and I'm standing on the sidewalk acting like I'm not a part of this. And he's just standing in the middle of the street like, captain goes down with the ship. And, to be fair, people of Norman were great, and they were stopping and, offering to help. But that day, I find myself in this random tow truck with this random driver, just the 3 of us, like 3 men in a truck with his Jeep attached to the back. And we're just being taken to a dealership. And, oh man, I don't know. It's just many experiences like that you're like, what are we doing? I don't know. But it was fun.
I'm waiting for that movie to come out. 3 Men in a Truck. I think
3
that
men in a truck.
I think that's going to be a top movie of the year right there.
I'm here for it. We can
Comedy.
make a movie on it. Yeah, it was a blast. But just Brian's a great example of a really strong relationship built through that RA job and built through that experience there at OU and at Headington Hall.
Yeah. Well, and Brian was a big supporter, and this kind of can segue into the next part of OU was a student government run in 2016. And this was really cool for both of us. We this is the ticket right here. You and I, we were the ticket. There were three
Episode.
different. No, there were 5 campaigns. All right, yeah, there were 5
5
total.
different, yeah.
Yeah, 5
4
different
others.
campaigns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this was such a fun time. And so, Jake, I've got to pull something up here as we're recording this. I'm going to share this with you because I want you to hear this audio clip that I've got, and we'll talk about it. So let me.
Okay, I've been caught in 4K.
Here we go.
Hi, I'm Jake Thomas. I'm from Lenexa, Kansas. I grew up with my mom, my dad, our 2 miniature dachshunds, Princess and Rolo, and then my brother Jordan. I attended Shawnee Mission West High School. Go Vikings. At Shawnee Mission West, I was a member of the Model United Nations, which taught me how to diplomatically resolve issues with numerous people. I was also a member of the cross-country and track teams for all 4 years that I was there. In doing both of those, I was also the president of the International Club. I came together with my geography teacher and we helped create the club. And we represented over 15 different countries in our international club. Coming to the University of Oklahoma was a challenging decision. It's 5.5 hours away from home, but I fell in love with the university and everybody who is here. I felt like I had a purpose being here and that I could make a difference. I want to know why you're here and why you want to make a difference and what we can do for you. Thank you.
All right.
Oh.
Memories, right?
No joke. That took me back, man. That polo took me back initially. I was like, man, those were the days the Royals were good.
Yeah. What, 2015? Yikes. 2015, 16? It's been a while.
Yeah.
But when you see that, and there's a lot I'm going to ask you just off of that video, because that's a lot of great content. And that really, I mean, up at that point, that was a lot about your life, right? That kind of made who you are and what, part of your purpose in life. And so I want to ask you first, just overarching question, besides, us running together, but why did you want to run for student government? Again, if you go to different universities, the Student Government Association, you have is like your student body president, vice president. They work for the students and try to advocate for student groups and things like that. In your role, Jake, at that time, why did you want to run?
Man. Yeah, so actually the year before that, you actually ran with Julia Depew, who is just an incredible person, and you two ironically ended up running together. But that was just a whole nother story of how they both filed to run by themselves and didn't realize they needed a running mate, and so they ended up together. But that was just a lot of fun. But I ended up being the campaign manager for you two that year, and just a really fun experience. And it was really fun to hear you two want to drive for helping the campus out, and that was new to me, just witnessing that. Because to be honest, I was just kind of enjoying college, like, enjoying my job, not really focused on, what does OU need or what could they use to be better. But I was exposed to that by helping you run that campaign and really try to push to help out, the students, faculty, and staff at OU. And so I would say that kind of set the groundwork for wanting to run that following year with you. So obviously an opportunity for you to run again. And it's an honor because, eventually we had been talking all year, we're close friends. And so we talk all year about it, talk about the issues, talk about, not winning, what could have been done, what could have been, and then you ended up serving with Daniel Pay, on their cabinet. And I know that was just a great experience for you. And so just staying closely connected to what was needed at OU. And just you bringing up that idea of wanting to run together the following year and kind of running through, I think it just came naturally when we were like, if we were to run, what are our key points going to be? What do we want to really try to change at OU? And I think it meant a lot because that wasn't difficult to come up with. And that's not saying OU is a bad place. It's an incredible university that has just the best, experiences available for students. And Despite it being incredible and having all of that, it can improve, and there's no doubt about that. That there are areas for improvement. There are areas to make it better. Nothing and no one is perfect, other than Jesus, and so it's like we're always trying to strive to find ways to uh, improve. And so the fact that we had a quick list of things that were really important to us um, just meant a lot and made it easy to run, because if you're ever asked, like if we were ever asked questions about why we're running, it was easy to talk about that and what we wanted. And so, I mean, from something as enjoyable and simple as just putting lights on the recreational fields, um, so there could be night rec league games, and help open up the schedule, make it more accessible for students that may be taking, you know, multiple classes during the day, or all their classes are at night if it's grad school or something else, just try to make that more accessible for them. Um, so something as light, pun intended, as that, or something as, you know, heavy and deep as establishing a food pantry to help tackle food insecurity. That's like this, low key um, challenge that so many face at OU, between the students, faculty, and staff. It just wasn't really talked about or touched on at the time. And so um, I remember we were listening to I can't remember who it was exactly, but we went somewhere on campus and listened to a talk, and they had shared that I think it was over 50% of students at OU could at least qualify for food stamps if they had applied for them or did what they needed to. And I remember that struck you, and it, like, talking about it, it settled in that it's like, how is that not a known fact? How's that not commonly known? And how is there nothing to help out here other than maybe a few things here and there, but nothing that was clearly making an impact? No offense to what was in place. But it's like there's a need that's so present there, that's just everywhere. And um yeah, so that campaign, just those two things, lights on the rec fields or establishing a food pantry, um, just had things in it that we were just really passionate about. And it wasn't hard to really want to invest in those and really want to put it together for OU, because we care about OU so much, and just to make it a better place. And long story short, the campaign doesn't exactly work out in our favor, which is okay, and that's all right. I think that um, there I don't know how you win those things, to be honest, other than really, really grinding it out. But I felt like we did, so I don't know. But um, yeah, it meant a lot. It was a really valuable experience because it meant a lot, really, um, connecting with so many people and going to so many events, and just meeting students at OU, or being a part of those town hall meetings where we'd go and talk with people, or sitting down with the OU Daily and being able to share our thoughts. And um, I can't speak to what the people at the OU Daily thought, but I feel like going into that and sitting down with them, I felt like we were kind of um, not expected to be a campaign that was talked about. I don't think they were expecting anything valuable out of it. I'm not saying that they they weren't they were amazing. I'm just saying I feel like we were maybe a little more low key than the other campaigns or something. I don't know. But um, in the article, just hearing that we were a very close second in their mind out of the five campaigns, it really validated the needs that we were trying to meet at OU, and it was clear that people agreed with us and agreed with that. And um, yeah, so it was a really cool experience. And um, it led to some great moments that I definitely cherish and value. There's um, if you lose, you just build up from there and you take it. And we lost that campaign, but clearly just bounced right back. I mean, you worked really hard, and here you are in 2022, still working for the OU Food Pantry and helping grow it and reach people. And I mean, gosh, man, I mean, it truly does leave me speechless thinking back to when I mean, there wasn't a pantry. It was just a thought, and it's like, this just needs to be a thing to meet a need. And here we are. It's served so many at OU that desperately needed the assistance and help. And it's just powerful to see that change and to see that despite losing the campaign, it still uh, became a thing. And it was amazing. And it was an absolute triumph, really. And just having the support of people along the way, from the administration to, some of our great friends and students that worked with us along the way, the pantry. And I don't know, it's just, it warms my heart that, pieces of the campaign still came together, that were priorities. And the food pantry was definitely number one on that list. And I have no clue if there are lights at the rec fields now. Do you know that? But
Don't think that ever happened.
there still need to be.
No.
I mean, come on. To have to play all the games during the day is a little. We got stuff
Yeah.
up there. That's okay. Obviously, the food pantry was definitely a priority. But yeah, great memories with that campaign. A lot of fun. I gotta admit, I still sweat and get nervous because I still cringe about the time during the campaign. You go around to these different groups and you share your platform, what you want to do, and you really try to get their votes. And I'll tell you right now, it doesn't help when you mess up the acronym. And I still want to throw up to this day thinking about that. And essentially, Matt and I went to where were we at?
President's leadership class.
Yeah, was it in Couch or?
Yeah, it was up in the Davenport's
Yeah.
area right above Couch Restaurants. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, President's Leadership Council group. What was it?
Class. Yeah.
Class. Okay. I still can't get it right. This is I'm ashamed. But PLC for short. And so it really doesn't help your campaign when you walk into this group of, I don't know, 50 or so, 50 to 100 people. And you're like, we're honored to be here at PCS. And I mean, you've just twisted the knife on yourself there, and might as well just end it there. And I dropped a bomb there. And I remember crawling out of that building after that. Just so embarrassing.
And PLC and PCS, yes. I don't know if there's actually like a rivalry between the two, but they are like the two, honorary classes for freshmen. I don't know, like, I mean, how to describe them, but they're like a pretty nice group, about 130. And you apply for it and you get in. It's a club. But yes, yeah, the President's Community Scholars and the President's Leadership class.
And to someone who is in neither, I mix them up easily.
It's okay. After they got through the shock of what, we got through it. And we were only there for about, 2 minutes, and then we left.
The worst 2 minutes of my
and we ran out. So
it was great. That showed me so much grace and patience, but that's up there on the most embarrassing moments of my life. It was like the first sentence out of my mouth, and I just knew. And because there were other campaigns there that they were listening to, and I just knew I outed myself right away.
Well,
maybe not you. Like, I think they still listen to you.
No, they still heard what we had to say. And you know what? Then if they thought about it, we were very memorable that night. Remember that, they were very memorable. So they remembered us.
All publicity is good publicity. Isn't that the saying or something like that?
In most cases, yes, I guess.
Gosh.
Well, hey, before we get to talking about the food pantry, I do want to ask you something, going back on the campaign in that video, because I think this is really cool. Again, this shows who you are, Jake. You are very much family, care, making an impact, making a difference. That's what you're about. In high school, you were the president of your international club, and you said that in your video. And I want to hear, and our viewers want to hear, listeners want to hear about that club, about what you did, what's it about, what's its purpose, and then how you made a difference.
Yeah. So I went to Shawnee Mission West High School in Overland Park, Kansas, public school district, and just don't want to say like a normal high school, but yeah, it was a good high school. We were about 2,000 students. So it's, fairly big, 6A, highest division in Kansas. But great school. But we were in our district, there are 5 different schools. And we're probably, I know at the time we definitely were one of the more diverse ones out of, all the schools of the district. So, my geography teacher at the time, Mr. Redcorn, who is now at Kansas State, but just an awesome teacher, seriously one of my favorite teachers, to this day. But he came up and talked to me, and he was like, I've had this idea of starting an international club. He's like, if you think about it, we've got students, you know, at this school from all these different countries, and we don't really have anything to show for it. Like, we don't do anything. And so he was like, I don't know if you want to help me out, but I need a student to kind of help me piece this together and recruit people. And um, really, it was super. I was like, I'm in, of course. And so we helped. I helped him, and we, applied to make this club, and it was approved. But we had to get people, and I expected that to kind of be challenging. I was I was extroverted, but I was extroverted when I had to be. But I think, and I'm a natural introvert, but I can be extroverted. But I was a little nervous to, try and recruit people to join a club. But the surprising part was all it had to do was exist, and people flocked to it. And students that were here that, had moved here when they were young, um, or, were here just for the time being to study. Um, I think my camera's lagging a bit, so I'm sorry about that, but it's coming along. But um, what for whatever they were there for, or however long they've been there, it was like the club existing just made them want to be a part of it. And so immediately we had, you know, 20, 30 students, and it rather than, be this club that was like about, it was like a class or something that we would come and sit down and learn from each other. It quickly became the Risk board game club, and we would play Risk and try to conquer the world. And but the trick was that we would do this late at night, but we would play Risk, but someone that week would be in charge of bringing a dish that they grew up with from their home. And so, like, that was the first time I tried lamb, or it was the first time, I tried curry, and these just really unique dishes that were homemade, and I mean, incredible, like, it's just so good. And I'm like, I had no idea that that was just so good. Yeah, and it was just really cool. And so we kind of grew, and um, instead of playing board games all the time, we eventually were like, we're gonna expand this. We're gonna do something else. And so we wanted to do an international fair that we ended up having, um, and we essentially had everyone in the gym for an entire day, and it was probably the best day of school I've ever had in my life. Just because essentially certain classes would be dismissed, and they'd come to the gym, and they could make their rounds, and each of our students had a booth. So we had, a booth that was giving henna tattoos and talking about their culture there. We had people of different tribes would do their traditional dances, and we'd have certain performances throughout the day. And then we had probably one of my favorite things. It was just so mind blowing. Was uh, each person would bring a McDonald's menu from their home country, and you would never think about it. Like, I don't know why. I just thought that McDonald's were the same everywhere. They are not. It's crazy.
That's
Um,
interesting. Whoa.
it's so cool. It's so cool. It was just mind blowing. But it's stuff like that that you're like, I had no clue, and it's just the coolest experience to let them just tell about it, because it sounds so simple to just tell us about their lives, but it was just so revealing. And yeah, so that was awesome. We in our high school of 2,000 students, we had, over 15 different countries, like you heard on the video. um, and it was just, I don't know, it made me really happy to see that people could just share their experiences. And we always had the joke that I remember we had each club has to have a president, and I was like, all right, which one of y'all wants to be president? And they just kept saying me, and I'm like, there's no way we're gonna have the whitest guy from Lenexa, Kansas, be the president of the international club. But that's what the majority said. So
Hey, you were elected president right there, you know?
dude, it was a blast. It was a really fun experience, and yeah, I had a blast with that. So it was a really cool experience, and just that was a blast on the video, and I was thrilled to share that just because that was something that we started from scratch. Definitely needed to be. It was a population at our school that had to be represented. That wasn't in any way, and so um, I don't know. There's so much more that I would have done. I always wanted to have a part of the building that always had a flag up or had flags up of every country represented at that time. If I were ever a principal or something, I tried to enact that at my school that, whenever we have a student there that's from a country, we're going to put their flag up, and we're just going to make sure everyone's represented. And it was such a blast. So yeah, that was a really cool experience.
Well, hey, there's a call to action right now. The whoever the current principal is right now, anybody at your high school is listening
Yes.
right now. This is the call to action. Take Jake's idea and let's put it into action. Jake, no, I mean that's what it's all about. I mean, that's what it is all about right there, my friend. Yeah, and you're making people feel included. Your inclusive environment, making sure everyone's represented. And I love that about the McDonald's menu. I would not have thought that. I mean, I would have thought the same thing as you thought, that it's all the same, but no, it's not. And honestly, if you, I'd kind of liked it. Now I got to go investigate what other McDonald's menus look like. I'm now intrigued by this.
Yeah. I mean, you have to think about it, like cultures, are very specific sometimes on certain cultures are very specific on what they can eat, what they can't eat.
Mhm.
And so you just never think about like McDonald's has to stay in line with that. And they've got to have foods that, you know, are accepting of those cultures and respect them. And yeah, so it's really cool. I definitely recommend looking it up because it would be, yeah, like you're not going to go to Israel and expect an egg McMuffin. It's not going to be the exact same menu, and it's cool, man.
Well, thank you for sharing that, man. Hey, I want to segue into this because I'm going to take a quote you just said because I think this is a great way, and it also ties back into talking about our work with the OU Food Pantry. You said all it has to do was exist, and people would flock to it. And I think that's perfect because that's exactly what happened with our pantry. Now, this was what was fun. I mean, as a student, we were both part of this. We were both part of the initial team that opened up in 2017. March 22nd of 2017, this OU Food Pantry. And Jake, you were one of our donations coordinators really on our logistics team before we called it logistics. We have a logistics team now, but this was before we had all the fancy titles. You are a donations coordinator. And Jake, you mentioned it, and I've got this stat as well. So right now in 2022, Oklahoma as a state has an 18.6% food insecurity rate. All right. Oklahoma is the 8th hungriest state in our nation. Now, back when we opened the pantry, this is actually better now, but it was worse then. We were probably top 5 and the food insecurity rate was a lot worse. We've actually improved. But Jake, in your time in Oklahoma, your time with this project, how eye-opening was this to see firsthand? And I mean, I think of the tabling events. I think of just the connections and people we've talked to. I mean, if anybody is interested in going back and looking at 2017, look at the Oklahoman newspaper article. Type in Jacob Thomas on Google. Type in OU Food Pantry Jacob Thomas. Okay. And it will, I did this earlier, Jake, so I'm telling you. You pull this Oklahoman article up and it's talking about tackling hunger. And you're quoted in this. We're both quoted in this article, but they did a story on us. I don't even remember that. Remember when the Oklahoman came out?
Yeah.
And you think about just the impact of a food pantry. Some people will say, well, they're college students. They don't need this. And that's so far from it. College students and staff absolutely need this, and especially now in the times we live in. But, Jake, I think about and I know I'm kind of jumping around here, but I want to get your talk about your take on that. But you were so instrumental too. You helped us establish a partnership with one of our great partners at Feed the Children. And I got to give a shout out to your dad, Bob Thomas, who works at Feed the Children. And you got us in contact with your dad, and we got this partnership put together with the organization. Feed the Children helps us out a couple times a year with some big food donations. I mean, pallets worth of stuff. Like we had a pallet probably early last year, or maybe even the year before, of like hand sanitizers and soaps. We're still giving out the soaps. Awesome. I'll tell you, that's how much stuff we've got. And so I want to, again, thank you to your dad. Thank you to you helping us set that up. But Jake, going back to my question, as a donations coordinator, what you saw on campus, how important is a food pantry on a campus, on a university, and the impact it's making?
I mean, it's critical, and it hurts to say that, because you don't want that. You don't want people to have to experience insecurities. And so it's hard to say that, but it's critical to have, and it gives me a sense of peace and relief knowing that there is one there and that it's providing that support and relief for those that really need it. Experiencing it firsthand, working it and meeting students, faculty, and staff that may have been experiencing those food insecurities. It was powerful. But it was just so meaningful, and it really just, I don't know, man. It does leave me speechless. Just that need is so prevalent, and so necessary there. Yeah, I don't think that students, faculty, or staff realize that you sit in a classroom, you sit in your English class, and you around 20 people, a little more spread out now, I imagine. I don't know if it's back to normal or what, but it's the person right next to you, it's the person 2 seats over, it's the person in front of you. And it all seems like you're all going to class, you're all experiencing the same thing, but it's completely the opposite, and everyone's experiencing something different, and some people are trying to accomplish something that no one in their family ever has. They're trying to go to college, they're trying to get this degree, they're trying to graduate, and just to have to deal with food insecurity while trying to tackle such a big goal and challenge is just unfair. It's not right, and it hurts. And I'm a horrible test taker, and I can't imagine having to do that when you're having to experience food insecurity and you're trying to find out where your next meal is going to be at, and you've got to take this huge exam, or you're going into finals week. And so I'm just incredibly grateful that the pantry's there. It was powerful how we really advertised it initially and pushed it, and we're telling people about it. And a year down the road, we're doing tabling events, and people are still like, I had no clue this was a thing. And you're like, man, like, I don't know. I think that people will say, whenever they're doing advertising campaigns or trying to market something, they'll be like, we've done this for a year, people know about it. Like, that's just not true. Keep pushing, because people don't. There's someone out there that doesn't. And just like the motto, jumping back to being an RA, just like the motto of being an RA to working at the food pantry, it's a success if it impacts one person. If it doesn't reach, 100 people, that's okay. If it reached 2 people, we changed 2 people's lives. We helped 2 people. That's more valuable than anything. So that was huge. Just continuing the marketing, and it was shocking to me just how hard it was to truly spread the word so everybody knew about it. And I'm definitely hopeful that it's more known today because it's been a while. But I guarantee there are still people that don't know about it, and it just happens. And I know that at a university that can happen, where things are just so siloed that I don't know, that different parts of campus are just so separated from the other that you may never know that there's a food pantry at OU. But just continuing that push to advertise it, table, um, and you know, market it as much as possible. It can reach as many people as it needs to, because I mean there are 20 plus thousand students there that need it and need to know about it at least. And so, yeah.
Yeah, and it's continued to do that, and celebrating 5-year anniversary on March
Wow.
22nd of this year of 2022. So
Uh,
it's incredible. I mean, 5 years. It's like it flies by. Really, time
yeah.
flies. It also makes you feel kind of old, like whoa. But
Yeah.
um,
That too.
yeah, but I'll tell you another thing, Jake, and this going back to high school for you and even what you're doing today. And I think this is a really cool kind of like it comes in full circle moment. So you competed in cross country, you competed in track in high school. And then in your time at the University of Oklahoma, you did a little coaching on the side for some
Mhm.
cross country and track. And then you're doing that today. And I think that's really cool. And so why'd you get into coaching? That's my first question. And second, how important is it to have like this mentorship? This is where I really think today too, again, in all the ways that you've made impacts along the way in your life, that you're really making a difference in the lives of high schoolers. Because as they get ready for college, you're just kind of preparing them. I mean, you're not that far off from you removed from college yourself. You graduated a couple years ago,
Yeah.
so
That's it.
you're still a college kid at
Mhm.
heart,
Yeah. Right.
you're making that connection and showing high schoolers, hey, I'm here for you as you're going to be making that transition in the next year, next 3 years, whatever it may be, however old they are, that, I, you're a role model. So why'd you get into coaching and how important is it to have that mentorship? And is there anybody that was a mentor for you growing up?
Yeah. I love coaching, man. It's so much fun. Yeah. So while I was at while I was at Oklahoma, I coached for 2 years at Norman North High School for track and field. And honestly, I did it because, like I mentioned earlier, that first semester was really hard, and I was really homesick, and um, yeah, it just wasn't. It was challenging. I literally wanted to transfer. Like it was hard. And so I was trying to cling on to something that I knew, trying to find a comfort area, just trying to find a zone that I felt comfortable in. And so that had always been running for me. And so I was like, oh, I don't know. I guess I can, maybe see if there's like an assistant coaching job or something to, coach a running group or a running team in Oklahoma. And then I was like, you know what? How about at the high schools? There are two high schools in Norman, Norman High and Norman North. And so um, what I ended up doing was I literally just emailed the two head coaches for each school and just said, hey, my name's Jacob Thomas. I'm a freshman at OU. I ran, for 4 years, past 4 years, and competed in these events, and just am really passionate about the sport. Not sure if you need extra hands for practices or coaching, but um, just wanted to extend that out there to say that I'm interested if you need someone. And actually heard back from Norman North, and Coach Piercy reached out, and sure enough, they needed just some extra hands. And um, with education budgets, it wasn't really in the budget to hire another coach. So the fact that he was able to find someone that was willing to do it for free, he was all in, and I was all in because it was a chance to be around the sport I love and make the spring semester, even better because I had an opportunity to, you know, be out there and get my mind away from being away from home and get it back onto a sport that I love. And so yeah, that was great. It was a great year of coaching. The thing about it in the 2 years I did it there, really, yeah, both years was I did mid distance and track. So I was an 800 half mile runner, and then I did the mile. And sometimes the 2 mile, but we quickly learned that's not for me. But I did the 800 and the mile and loved them. So I was a mid distance runner. But in coaching at Norman North, I was helping out with sprints and hurdles and jumps, and so it was everything I hadn't really experienced or known. And so I was spending time on YouTube and learning them and learning how to be the best at them, looking at Olympians and looking at, what are the tricks here, and just trying to build my knowledge up so that I could, you know, um, at least make the athletes, competitors at Norman North. And, being a part of sports in high school, it can be, just a social activity for people, which is totally cool. But as long as you're there and as long as I'm a part of it, we're going to compete and we're going to do our best at it. But we're going to have fun at it. And that's exactly what it was. So it was such a fun experience learning how to count off steps for sprint relays, and when to jump, when to it was just, I don't know. It was awesome because it fully placed me in an environment that I loved, and it really did start to help that transition to get me comfortable in Norman and get me comfortable away from home. So really grateful for that. And the following season was with Coach Walker, and I still talk with the coaches to this day over Facebook. We'll catch up or we'll text every now and then, and it's just awesome. Great, just incredible people. I mean, seriously, incredible laughs and just incredible trust. If they were all busy, they uh, trusted me to lead a practice, and I loved leading a practice. And some students are really challenging when new coach is leading a practice, but it's just part of it, and it was a blast. That was a really valuable experience in Norman coaching there. Had a blast. Yeah, so eventually, I moved back here. So I grew up in Lenexa, kind of suburb Kansas City near Overland Park, where my high school was. I live in Lawrence right now, where KU is. It's probably about 30, 40 minutes away from that high school that I went to. But I ran under Coach Annan while I was in high school, all 4 years. And I mean, just uh, an incredible leader and role model and coach and motivator and a friend. I mean, seriously, just a genuine person. And I fell in love with the sport because I think I fell in love with that team, and I fell in love with the coaches and just being around it. And um, I fell in love with the grind. It's running is a day in, day out. It's you've like we would wake up and we'd go to school, and right after school you put on your running gear and you go, and you're going to knock out at least 3 to 10 miles of practice, if not more, on long distance days. And so I mean, it's a grind, and it's not something for people that aren't interested in a grind. It's You've got to have the mental capacity for it. So I had a blast with the grind. And I hit a point one summer where I just really wanted to get better. I was C team and JV my first 2 years, and then in between, I was like, I just really want to try to strive to get better at this and see how far I could go. Um, Ended up doing like 500 miles over the summer, and then started doing these pool workouts. We would be up. Me and a couple buddies would get up at 5:15, 5:30. We'd head to the school. We'd get there at 6, and we'd do a pool workout because there's a pool at the school, and they allowed us to use it. And so we'd be in the pool for 30 minutes to an hour every morning, and then we'd go wrap that up. We would throw our clothes on, smell like chlorine all day, didn't care. Um, Go to school, and then as soon as we're out of school, we're at practice and we're pounding the pavement for 3 to 10 miles. It's day in and day out, and um, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And yeah, so when I came back, it had always been a dream to coach again, um, especially at my high school. I think it'd be a lot of fun because Coach Annan is still the head coach there for cross country, and so um, yeah, I just always wanted to do that. And I actually looked at the school district website, just because that's always been a job that I've been interested in, is coaching cross country at my high school. And so I just always kept a side eye on it. It was never really posted. He always had assistant coaches. And sure enough, last year, I see the posting and I was like, man, it's actually available. I'm like, that's it. That's the position I always look at. And I was like, I'm a graduation advisor here at KU, and I love it. It's an awesome job, but it's 8 to 5, and so it's a full time gig. And high school is wrapped up around 3 p.m. every day, and that's when practice is. So I was kind of like, dang, there's that job, there's that opportunity, but it's a side job. And, I've got to keep my full time, and I mean, there are benefits and stuff. You can't just leave your full time job. Um, and I love it, obviously, so I don't want to leave it. I really enjoy it, but I was like, I just don't know how I could make them both work. Um, so I just kind of left the idea. Probably for a month or two. I was like, all right, he'll find someone, he'll hire them. Man, that'd be a lot of fun to do. And sure enough, one of our friends, shout out to Laura Milliken, she kind of started this whole thing. But for her birthday, she wanted to go to this theater, which is called Theater in the Park. And you go and you watch a theater, put on by, um, some high school kids, some a little older, and it great performances. But we go and we're like, we're gonna go for a birthday celebration. So we go, and sure enough, while we're there, I see Coach Anand and his family, and they're there to watch this play. And I was like, man, I've got to go say hi. And my wife Jessica was sitting with me, and she was like, you need to go to say hi. You need to talk about that job. And I was like, there's just no there's no way. There's no way that would work. So I was like, I can't make it work with my schedule. But I'll go say hi. I'll go say hi. And so I go ahead, I get up, go say hi. And I told Coach Sean, and I was like, I gotta be honest. I saw that you were hiring for an assistant coach. So I was like, I saw it a couple months ago. So I'm sure that you found someone. And he was like, I'm still looking. I haven't been able to find anyone. And it's like, we'll see. And um, he was just, yeah, I was like, man, I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know what came over me, but I was like, that would be really cool to do that job. And he was like, I would be honored if you could. And I'm like melting because this is the scenario I've like played out in my head, was being able to coach for my high school team. And um, I was like, let me see what I can find out. And then I'll be in touch with you next week and we'll see what we can do. And essentially it boiled down to, I've got to try to figure out how to make it work, because you know, I can't just do it and not do my current job or not figure something out. And so basically I've learned in my life and I'll work, the best way to work through things is transparency and communicating. It's been really successful in my relationship with my wife. We were long distance for such a long time, and we're married. And I mean, relationships just, they don't move if you're not communicating or transparent. And I'm sorry, it's lagging out, but we're working through it. Um, but I essentially went to my boss and laid it all out and was just completely transparent. And I was like, this is a really tall ask, but here's the ask. Here's the demands of it. Here's what it would require from me. And here's what I would be asking from not only you, but my coworkers. And here are the potential challenges. And you break it down, you weigh pros and cons. And I'm grateful to have such an incredible boss that would acknowledge that this is something I'm really passionate about and clearly want to pursue. And she allowed me to do it. And I was able to coach this last fall for that team. And I was speechless. It was literally a dream job. I know it's not. I know people say like the craziest jobs that they can think of as their dream job, but being able to coach the team that I was once a part of with my head coach at the time, like, it was incredible. And I loved it, every minute of it. The early mornings, getting up at 4:30 to go to a cross country meet on a Saturday morning, like, there's nothing better. So I yeah, so cool. And getting out and being back on that grind. I mean, I love it, man. I love getting out there and running every day. Just it feels good. It feels right. And it's a great sport. And I love it. It was an awesome opportunity. Those all of them are all the runners, they're incredible students, incredible kids that, they've got bright futures ahead of them. I know that, each of them, they really care about the sport. I know that, sometimes it's not the number one priority, and that's okay. But as long as we're on the team and we're a part of it, we're gonna go out there and we're gonna compete to the highest potential that we can. And that's exactly what they did. So they went to our regional meet this year, which is the meet to qualify for state. And we were, pretty heavy underdog as a team on our guys' side. And they went out and man, they gave it probably one of the greatest team efforts that I've seen. Like it didn't turn out the result that you want, and it didn't qualify them for state, but to their potential and to their their work together as a team, it was so fun to watch. Like I was just watching the race, just jaw drop. I was like, here you guys are, because it takes time to kind of get a team to gel and to get them to really, work together. It's an individual sport. You have your individual time and your individual best that you're trying to beat, but there's still a team score to it, and you still score points for your team, and you're still trying to compete against other teams. And they went out and did that, and it was awesome. And our girls' side is a bit smaller, but they are such a close knit group that both of those teams are just, it's so much fun. It was an honor to coach them both, and I'm so excited to see where they can go this next season. I know that they're looking forward to it, and I'm pumped for it, of course, as well. But yeah, it's awesome, man. It's been such a cool experience. I love it.
Well, that's a cool moment. I tell you, again, not many people can say the opportunity that you have to, you're former athlete, former athlete now, and you get to work with the same coach. I mean, the coach that you had, like it's a testament right there, how cool that, just how cool, just a cool story. I don't know what else to say. It's just a really cool story, because I can tell your passion. You're following your passions, right? Because again, leading to making an impact. So Jake, thanks for sharing that, because that's really cool. I mean, again, life is full circle. It's what it is.
Yeah.
Hey, before we wrap up, I want to hear, because this is something that for every episode, I want you to be a travel agent here. I want to hear about Lenexa. I want to hear about Lawrence. Tell me a little bit about, what are some main attractions, places to eat. Help paint a picture for us of your hometown.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So the hometown is Lenexa, Kansas. One of the mini suburbs of Kansas City. Whether you want that to be Missouri or Kansas, let's just get it out in the clear right now. There is a Kansas City, Kansas. It's on the Kansas side in Kansas, and there is a Kansas City, Missouri. It's in Missouri on the Missouri side.
A lot of people already confused now.
There are two. There are two Kansas Cities. So it's really a suburb. I don't know what you want to say it's on, but I'll just say Kansas City, Missouri. But it's in there. It's in that big thing. But yeah, the Royals, the Chiefs, Kansas City, Missouri. It's in Missouri. Sporting Kansas City, Kansas. But anyway, just to clear it up, I know it can be confusing. I totally understand it. It's weird, but just a heads up. Anyway, travel agent. It's awesome. I love it. Obviously going to OU, I was homesick, so I clearly loved it here. Growing up here. So Lenexa is awesome. Close to Kansas City, and there's so much to do in Kansas City. Of course, people are going to say the barbecue is up there and is the best barbecue there is. I'd say it's pretty darn good.
It is good. I'll give you that. It is good.
I know that there's debate left and right about Memphis, Carolina, Texas, and their great barbecues. I don't doubt it at all. And of course I'm going to be biased, but the thing I love, and if it just depends on what you like, right? So I would just say there are different sauces at every single barbecue place in Kansas City. And if you like sauce, you're gonna love the barbecue here because you can try different sauces. I love sauce, so I'm all about it. So I'm a big fan. I would say my favorite is Jack Stack. So if it ever comes, I would say Jack Stack's the way to go. I love their barbecue. I love their sauce. It's the move. But you really can't go wrong. So Q39 is great. Joe's Kansas City. They used to be Oklahoma Joe's, and they rebranded. But highly recommend. I mean, you can't go wrong. I'm gonna be honest. They're all good. Um, but it's in the sauce. So if you're a traditional Texan, you probably hate hearing that, and you'll say good barbecue doesn't need sauce. Eat it however you want, but I enjoy sauce, so I'm having sauce. So just another addition. Who's complaining about that? But yeah, so obviously that's a staple. But there's so much. I mean, obviously we have our sports teams, and it seems like when one's good, the other isn't. When the other's good, the other decides to be bad, or they're just both bad. But we're loyal.
time.
I'll tell you that. We are very loyal, especially to the Chiefs. I wish people were a little more loyal to the Royals, but I get it. It's been a rough stretch, but
Hey, but you do have that World Series. You have that
Yeah.
World Series from what, 6-7 years ago now. But
15, yeah, 2015, which is great. It's awesome. Yeah, but there's so much. So aside from the sports teams, there is. I remember when I hosted the OU Instagram, I had shared a little bit about the World War I museum downtown. Really powerful museum. That's just something that you need to experience, and it is the only. There's a fact about it. It's like the only World War I museum in like the Western Hemisphere. I don't know. It's something crazy like that that you would be like, there's no way. Like, there's got to be a World War I museum somewhere, but it really is. Like, it's the only one in
wow.
a large radius. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but there is a large radius, and it is the only one. Is what I'm saying. So I highly recommend. Just it's beautiful, powerful experience. Not too far from it is literally right down this like hill is the Union Station. That's where we actually had our prom when I was in high school. So that was just amazing. It's stunning, and that was a lot of fun. Ironically, quick side fun story. For prom, I was actually in the same prom group as my wife, but we had different dates. So is your
Wow.
fun fact there. Yeah, it's just
Wow.
hilarious how that works out. But yeah, so I highly recommend. Union Station's great. The World War I Museum is awesome. Not too far is Crown Center, which is this shopping center, and over the winter there's an ice skating rink out there and gigantic Christmas tree. And it's a really cool spot with a lot of fun places. There's a restaurant called Fritz's. I don't know if that's elsewhere. I don't know if this is like a chain across the country.
Not
I
sure.
apologize if it is, but it's this really cool place that, especially as a kid, but I love it now to this day. But you place your order over a phone. There's a phone at the booth, and you call it in, and then above you there are these trains that ride along the ceiling, and it will just ride over you, and then it will dump off your food onto this tray when it's ready, and then it just like lowers it down to your table. But the whole time there are just these trains circling around with the food. It's
Wow.
such a
Okay,
cool
that
experience.
sounds pretty cool. So now next time I go up to Kansas, I'm now going to have
Fritz's.
Fritz's, right? Okay.
Yes, it's
That
the
sounds
move,
pretty
man.
cool.
It's fun. There are a couple of them. But yeah, the one in Crown Center, is OG. Yeah, so Crown Center is awesome. There are a ton of attractions. North Kansas City is being built up across the river. It's got a chicken and pickle and a few other things going up over there. So I know it's becoming a little more lively. And there are the West Bottoms, which is a bunch of antique shops, but like these antique warehouses. So they're 3-4 stories of antique shops and furniture shops. I was actually there today. It was really cool. Just a fun place. And then you've got your farmers market over there, and there is, of course, there's Bartle Hall, and which it hosts theaters and shows. Like the other month, my wife and I went to see Wicked, her favorite show, and so it's my first time seeing it. But I mean, just so much fun, and there's just always stuff to do. We love driving in. So we live in Lawrence, and we go into Kansas City all the time. We have family there, of course. Um, her Jessica's dad lives in Bonner Springs. Her mom lives in Fairway, which is kind of another suburb, and then my mom is in Olathe, which is another suburb. But we go into Kansas City a lot, and it's a really easy trip, about 30 or so minutes. So we go in all the time, just to hang out with them or just to adventure ourselves and stuff. In Lawrence, however, obviously where we live, um, you've got the university, of course, you've got KU, and there's everything cool with KU. You've got the Campanile, you've got Allen Field House, and just all the cool venues here. The booth, the football stadium, which is going to be renovated soon, which will be really cool. But um, I I just want to prep people, if you've never been to Kansas or Lawrence, I know that we all believe Kansas is flat. There's a part of Kansas that is not flat. It exists, and it's called Lawrence, Kansas.
That's
And
the
I
place
love
to go right there.
it is. I love longboarding, man, but you can't really do it at KU because you're gonna be flying down a hill before you know it. There's literally part of the graduation ceremony is the walk down the hill. Like it's literally called that. So it's like I don't know how else to explain that Kansas isn't flat completely. But yeah, it's great. We highly recommend Lawrence. My wife and I got a home last year here. So we've set our roots here, which we're really grateful for and love it. And I mean, there's nothing I want more than to, you know, start a family and life with my wife here, in Kansas and in Lawrence, especially. It's been awesome. We got plugged into a new church here, Story Hill Church. It was planted, 4 years ago or so. And just an awesome community there. Some great friends that we'll be having over tomorrow for the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. But Lawrence has so much, man. You've got Mass Street, which is full of shops. It's like your campus corner in Norman. It's got your shops, your restaurants, another huge antique mall. I don't know what it is about Kansas and antiques, but they're everywhere. Super cool. Definitely, we go there all the time. I get lost in there. That's really fun. There's Muncher's Bakery, which has 24-hour bakery. It's got donuts. I mean, name it. That's the place to go. Absolutely love it. West Lawrence, which is where we were in our apartment before we got our house, is really cool area too. That's been up and coming. My wife works for the hospital here at LMH, and they just built recently a huge West campus out there that's incredible. It's massive, but also out there are some KU athletic facilities. They've got their tennis some tennis facilities out there, I think, and then track and field is out there, the pavilion, and it's really cool area. So, yeah, Lawrence has a ton, man. Ceramic shops, do your thing there. If you wanna make something, or there are a ton of just small businesses that are only here. It's a small town, and it feels like a big town, especially when the campus is alive. But it's a small big town. So
Yeah.
yeah, we love Lawrence. We're not far from the capital. Topeka's like 20-30 minutes. But it's great, man. We love Lawrence, and definitely recommend it if anybody's looking in Kansas. Kansas City's great too.
Yeah.
Once you get west of Lawrence, I will say good luck. I haven't lived out there, but I will back off, and that is flat. It's not.
So,
I'm sorry if you're from Hayes or somewhere else, but I respect it, and yeah, it's
not much out there.
it's Kansas. It's the Kansas you know and love. It's Dorothy's. It's Dorothy's land. That's where it's her stomping grounds is out
Yeah.
there. Yeah. We actually went to go pick up. We recently got a golden doodle whose name is Boomer. Let's go.
There you go.
But we went and got him in Frankfort, Kansas. And on our way out there, it's up near the Nebraska border, Kansas-Nebraska border. On our way up there, we drove through a town, and I'm so sorry I can't remember the name of it, but it's known as Dorothy's hometown. It's where she's
Really?
from. I never knew that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
That's a
didn't know she
fact
had a
right there.
hometown, but yeah,
Yeah.
we were driving through and it was like that's where it's like Winnebago or something. I don't know. I'm sorry, I
Okay.
just butchered that, but it's something
Oh,
like that.
hey,
But it's where Dorothy's from. Never knew.
that's cool. Yeah, the time I've been to Kansas a couple of times, and only once to actually go to our friend Brian's wedding out in Colorado did I drive through the west part of Kansas. But the times coming to visit you and help you move up there a couple of years ago too. It's you see a lot of land, yeah. But once you get closer into the cities and Lenexa or Lawrence or Kansas City, yeah, it's nothing like the west side of the state, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not, man. I mean, it's always tough, telling people I'm from Kansas because you picture that big rectangle Kansas. And it's like I just have to pinpoint them up in that top right corner. And I mean, it's practically Missouri. I'm just right
Yeah.
there. But it's not the Kansas you think of. It's just not it.
It's completely different. Well, hey Jake, so I want to ask you for this last question.
Yeah.
If you, and this is something that I'm trying to do at the end of every episode, if you can describe your hometown in one word, what it means to you, what would that be?
Yeah. I'll do Lawrence since that's the
Yeah.
current hometown.
Uh-huh.
Just to be clear. Yeah, for Lawrence, honestly, there are a lot of words to describe it. But I think man, I don't want to be stereotypical because the first word that comes to mind, of course, is home, but that just doesn't feel right. Saying that because it's so obvious. But I think that the the word that I would go to not be so obvious is community. It's so connected. Like I moved here in 2020, so it's a busy year if we recall. There were a few things happening in 2020. I moved here in the middle of it all, and I knew my wife who was still living in Kansas City. So I kind of moved here into our apartment before she had joined. And so I was by myself and I was working at my job. I knew my coworkers. That was it. And it was new. It was intimidating. It was a little, you know, it's like I knew I was going to be with my wife, but just don't know anyone. And now I feel like we're early 2022, not even 2 years into it. And just so many connections and relationships that I feel like I know. I mean, people from all over Lawrence, like it's amazing. And I feel like I have a community and just knowing everyone. It's like everyone knows everyone. It's weird. I'm like, this is a big town. Like, how do we all know this? But it really is connected, and it's a true tight knit community that the people that live in Lawrence really care about Lawrence, and they really care about where it's going and where it's heading, and that's made it such a great home, and it makes us really happy to be here in Lawrence, and we love living here. We love our community at church. We love our community at the university, at the hospital. Um, it's meant so much in our neighborhood and our friends that live across Lawrence. I mean, it just means so much, and it's really cool to see how quickly it became more than just a home. It really did become a community of friends and
Yeah.
people that I don't want to leave or I don't not want to be around. It's incredible how quickly that became a thing, and it's a huge blessing.
Well, Jake, that's great to hear. Every place you've been, going back from high school to your time in college to what you're doing now in Kansas, you're leaving your mark, you're impacting your community. So that's great to hear. Hey, I want to tell you too, thank you for this great episode today. This episode 2. I want to also, Jessica just had a birthday, so I wish her happy birthday. And you've got a birthday coming up here within the next week as well. So happy early birthday to you, bro. This was awesome. Thank you for sharing your story. Shouting out Kansas again. If anybody is going to Kansas, remember the East Side.
Yes, East Side.
I'm kidding. If you live in the West Side,
It's okay.
it's
We
all-
love
it's
you.
good.
You're Kansas, but you're Kansas. So,
Kansas.
but we love you. for it. You still count, but yeah, no, it's great.
I love it.
I appreciate
hey,
you having me on.
Yeah, thanks, Jake. I appreciate it, man. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in to episode 2 of 50 States, 50 Stories. We'll catch you next time. Go out and make a difference. Take care.